Welcome to a tutorial on how to go from bad to good in iRacing as a beginner. So as a preface to this video, I want to call out that this isn't how to go from good to great, but more how to go from bad or just starting to good. So this will cover topics to help get you into the about top 10% of lap times. So the first thing I want to call out is a topic that's discussed a lot, but I have some personal opinions on, which is whether or not to use any shift aids. So, in my opinion, as someone who does have experience driving with a clutch in real life and have some practice in this game, I find that there is a very small difference between using a standard actual clutch or using the auto clutch shift aid. But in my opinion, the difference between consistency is the most important. So what I would do is I would go into practice, I would try it out and see which one you're more consistent with. If you're missing gears a lot, or if you're spinning out, or if you're having trouble with timing on using a manual clutch, I would highly recommend using the auto clutch, as the difference that it'll take you is really not that big a difference when you're going from bad or a beginner to trying to get to good. So I would recommend auto clutch unless you're really good with the standard clutch. One of the things that you can do is you can test it out, and if you can go maybe 10 clean laps in a row where you don't have any misshifts, any problems, then I would say, okay, you're probably ready for a manual clutch. But if you can't do that at this point, or your steering wheel and pedal setup doesn't support it, then I would just go with auto clutch. I don't think it's that big a difference. There are two more driving aids that I would really recommend. The other one is this driving line. So what that's going to do is it's going to put a line on the track that's going to have different colors, whether it be green, white, red, which are going to correspond to different actions that you should be taking at that point on the track. So whether that be green, so accelerating, white, coasting, red, braking, it's really good as a beginner when you're learning different tracks and learning what the best lines are. The last driving aid, well, it's sort of a driving aid that I will recommend, is the lap time tracker. So if you hit tab, you can see that you can add a all-time best lap tracker, or there's a lot of different options where it can go against segment or against the best lap this session, etc. I tend to use my all-time best lap. But the nice thing what this is going to do is it's going to add a timer up here, and you can see it is going really high at the moment because I'm just sitting here. But this timer, what it will do is it'll compare your current lap against what your best lap is. So what you can do is then halfway through the lap you can know, am I doing good, am I doing bad? But what that allows you to do is it allows you to take turns or corners or segments of the lap and see, hey, am I doing better this time than I normally am? So in a practice, you can test out some different things like, oh, I'm going to brake harder here or shift down at this point. And it'll allow you to kind of on the fly compare to see if it was better or worse. This can be extremely useful when you're learning, hey, what's the best way to take this track. So you can see my best lap on, so this is Jefferson Circuit in a Mazda MX-5. You can see my best lap is about 56.052. So at the time of filming this video, this is the circuit that is the current season for the Mazda MX-5 Global Cup. And a 56.052 is about top 5% or so of the time trial results. So it's a pretty good time. Not great, like I said, but good. So essentially I'm going to show you or explain how I went from starting out around like 105 to getting down to 56 in about 5 or 6 days of playing. So the next general tip I have is to just try and follow the driving line exactly as you see it. So when it's red, brake. When it's green, throttle. When it's white, coast. It's as simple as doing that at the beginning will take you a long way. So I think as long as you start with that and start getting a feel for your car, that can literally take you from being really bad to at least being probably about, I would say about average, somewhere in kind of the 50 percentile or so. The next thing that I really want to stress is it's much more important to have a clean lap both for your safety rating and for your overall time than it is to necessarily go really fast all the time. So in situations where you have the option to choose between taking a corner really, maybe wide and fast like you see me on the screen right here, or taking it maybe a little bit slower than you should but cutting it short, always choose the safer, shorter option. You can see really easily here that my time, if I go short but safe, is not too bad. But if I would do that same corner, so let's go this corner up here, but instead let's take it really wide, you'll see that instead of having a okay, maybe not great time, instead we end up in a situation where, oh no, we're off the track and we're wrecked. So again, I would definitely recommend that take it safe to start. Always, maybe go a little bit slower than you should until you get a really good feel for that turn, and then use that as a stepping stone into getting a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster. I think it's much harder to go fast and then try to slow down a little bit into your turn than it is to start slow and then power faster out of your turn. The next topic that I want to talk about is understanding when you're quote-unquote losing control in a turn. So there's two things that usually can tell you if you're losing control in a turn. Number one is audio. So if you listen to the audio in the game, you can start to hear a wheel squealing noise whenever you're starting to lose traction in a turn. So in my opinion, it's much safer if you're losing traction to play it safe, slam on the brake or apply the brake gently, and then shift down and save it versus trying to power through and getting in a wreck. While you might be able to handle it by counter steering or applying more throttle, those are much more dangerous styles of recovery, and as a beginner, what that's probably going to end up in is either a crash or going off track, which is going to hurt your score way more than what I just did right there, which is going too fast, I slow down, I recover, I reset, and I keep going. So my recommendation is, until you become quote-unquote an expert at the car, the track, don't do what I just did right there, which is try to counter steer, try to throttle, and then end up in a spin out, which is going to affect your time way more than just slowing down, taking it easy. The second way that you can know that you're losing traction in a corner is force feedback through your wheel. So this is going, or your pedals potentially. So this is going to vary very much on your setup, but if you have a wheel that has force feedback like I have, if you're taking a corner too fast, you'll start to feel some friction or some pushback or force feedback on the wheel itself. So kind of learning, practicing, pushing it, doing what I did recommended earlier, which is start slow, go faster and faster and faster and faster in a turn until you get to a point where you realize, oh, I'm pushing it too hard, and then understanding, oh, see, I pushed it too hard. Now understanding how to recover from that, that's going to make it way better on your lap times. The next topic that I want to talk about is the difference between braking to slow down and downshifting to slow down. Both of these things can slow you down to some degree, but there's a different effect that you get from each of them. Braking is generally what you expect, which is it's going to slow you down. If you press the brakes too hard, you could lock them up, which could cause you to spin, etc. Now, the one I want to talk about is downshifting. So downshifting is going to slow you down a little bit, but the main thing that downshifting does versus braking is it also allows you to gain a little bit of traction that you wouldn't have had before. So downshifting in a turn can help you take that turn faster. Now, you have to understand though, if you're going too fast or if your turn angle is too sharp, downshifting may actually cause you to spin out. So if you see, like, if I downshift too much here, oh, now I'm out of control. So you need to take it careful between the two, but learning when to downshift versus when to brake in a turn is going to help reduce your track times by a lot. So one of the big things that you can notice is if you're turning and it's one of those turns where you're going and it goes into a section where you're idle or you're coasting, one of the best things you can do is coast into where it starts going green, and then where it starts going green again, that's when you downshift. So you brake and then, hey, we're coasting, downshift there, gain the traction, and then hit the throttle. So using those techniques of when to downshift or when to brake can really take you from kind of that level of average or a little above average up to that, top 10%. So that's the last topic that I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully combining all the things that I talked about in this video can help you as a beginner go from, bottom 10% track times to top 10%. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any other tips that you'd like to throw out or things that I missed or could have done better, please put it in the comment. If not, I'll see you in another video.